What if the biggest lie you've ever believed is the idea that your life needs to be extraordinary to matter? What if the moments you think are meaningless are actually the ones shaping someone's entire future? And what if, without even realizing it, you've already changed lives in ways you'll never see? Let me tell you a story that might completely change how you see your life. A few days ago, I picked up my granddaughter from school. She got into the car, closed the door, and just sat there. No anger, no sadness, no tears, just empty. You know that look? Like the light inside someone has quietly dimmed. So I asked her, "How was your day?" She shrugged. I asked, "Did something happen?" She said, "No." Then after a long silence, she looked out the window and said something I haven't been able to forget. "Grandpa, does it ever feel like nothing you do actually matters?" Now I'm 87 years old. I've lived through things she can't even imagine yet. Failures, loss, fear, regret. Moments that break you and rebuild you. And here's the truth. I've asked myself that exact same question more times than I can count. But the difference is, she's asking it at the beginning of her life, and I'm answering it at the end of mine. And somewhere between those 2 points, I think I finally understand something most people never do. We live in a world obsessed with being important. Everywhere you look, people are trying to be seen, be remembered, be admired. We're told that if we don't stand out, we don't matter. So people chase big careers, big recognition, big audiences. They measure their worth in followers, titles, achievements. But here's what 87 years has taught me. Most of what truly matters doesn't look important at all. Let me tell you about someone I once knew. Her name was Margaret. She lived quietly, just a few houses down from us, for over 40 years. She wasn't famous. She didn't build a company. She didn't travel the world. She was a school teacher. Same classroom, same school, year after year. When she retired, there was a small gathering. Nothing special. A few co-workers, some polite applause, a simple plaque. Honestly, it didn't look like a life that mattered much. But when she passed away a couple years later, something unexpected happened. Her funeral was packed. Not just full, overflowing. People stood outside because there was no room left inside. And then one by one, they started speaking. A man said, "She was the first person who ever made me feel capable." A woman said, "She didn't give up on me when everyone else did." Another said, "I became who I am because she believed in me." Story after story, lives shaped, confidence built, futures changed, all by someone who thought she was just doing her job. Margaret never tried to change the world. She just showed up and paid attention. And somehow, that changed everything. Here's where we get it wrong. We think mattering means being known by many, but real mattering happens when you are known by someone. Deeply, honestly, at the right moment. Because life isn't built on big moments. It's built on small ones. Tiny decisions, quiet actions, simple kindness. The kind that doesn't feel important when it's happening. When I was younger, around 40, I went through a dark time. Everything felt like it was falling apart. Money problems, stress, bad habits creeping in. One night I sat in my car outside a bar. I was seconds away from walking in, and honestly, I didn't care what happened after that. Then someone knocked on my window, a man I barely knew. He said, "I'm grabbing coffee, come with me." That's it. No lecture, no advice, no dramatic speech, just coffee. We sat for hours talking about nothing important, but somehow, that night changed direction. I didn't go into that bar. I went home, and that small interruption, that simple invitation, it mattered more than he'll ever know. My wife had a habit I never fully appreciated while she was alive. She wrote letters, not text, not emails, real letters, to friends, to family, to people she hadn't seen in years. I used to laugh about it. Why not just call them, I'd say. She'd just smile and keep writing. After she passed, I found boxes full of letters people had written back to her, and almost everyone said the same thing. You have no idea how much your letter meant to me. Some had kept them for years, read them during hard times, held on to them like lifelines. She wasn't trying to make an impact. She was just reaching out. But she mattered more than she ever realized. So here's the shift. Your life doesn't need to be impressive to be meaningful. In fact, chasing impressive is often what makes people feel empty, because it makes ordinary life feel like it's not enough. But ordinary life is where everything that matters actually happens. Think about it. The world doesn't run on famous people. It runs on people who show up, people who care, people who keep going when no one is watching. Parents waking up at night, workers doing honest jobs, friends checking in, strangers being kind. None of it looks special, but without it, everything falls apart. So if you're asking, do I matter? Don't look at the world. Look at the people right in front of you. Ask yourself, do I listen when it matters? Do I show up when it's hard? Do I treat people with care, even when I don't have to? Because those things, they don't go viral, but they change lives. My grandson was afraid of water, terrified, wouldn't even step near a pool. So one summer, I stood with him, every day, just 10 to 15 minutes. No pressure, no forcing, just presence. Slowly he got comfortable. Then one day, he swam. Now he's grown. He probably doesn't remember those moments, but I do, because I know those small moments change something in him. That's what mattering looks like. Just last week I was at a store. The cashier looked exhausted. You could see it in her eyes. I could have just paid and left. But I asked, "Are you okay?" Not casually. I meant it. She paused, and then opened up. She was working extra shifts to take care of her sick mother. We talked for just a few minutes. Nothing dramatic. But when I left, she smiled in a way she hadn't before. Now tell me, was that moment world-changing? No. But did it matter? Absolutely. Here's what I wish someone had told me earlier in life. You may never know the impact you have. You won't get notifications. You won't see the results. You won't always feel it. But that doesn't mean it isn't happening, because most impact is invisible, quiet, delayed. So if you're wondering, does anything I do actually matter? Here's your answer. Yes, just not in the way you've been taught to look for. It matters when you choose patience, tell the truth, show up, care when it's inconvenient, stay when it's easier to leave. That's where meaning lives, not in being seen by the world, but in being felt by people. Before you go, think about this. What's one small thing you've been overlooking that might actually matter more than you think? Tell me in the comments. And if this message stayed with you, share it with someone who might need it today. Because sometimes the smallest things we do echo the longest.